What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here. I am back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Edmonton Oilers going forward towards the trade deadline. Now, I'm a Leaf fan, but I do watch quite a lot of the Edmonton Oilers, so I'm going to be talking about maybe some things that they can improve on, talking about what NHL Tonight said about them, and, just a team overlook in general from last year to this year, but more importantly, what they're going to be doing at the deadline. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. We're going to get right into this video right now. So the Edmonton Oilers are kind of like a mystery that a lot of people haven't solved. Last year, they were so close to going to the conference finals, and this year, they're fighting for a playoff spot, which they're probably not going to obtain. Last year, they had speed, they had depth, they had heart, and they had leadership, but they're literally playing themselves right out of a playoff spot this year, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people expected after having so much success last season. Lots has gone wrong for them. People aren't scoring. They don't have depth. There's been injuries. But there are a lot of question marks going towards the deadline and going into next season. So NHL Tonight basically did a mock-up of what they think the Edmonton Oilers should do towards the deadline and who they see being a part of the team next year. And I'd like to touch on it because I agree with quite a lot of what they said. So in goal, they obviously have Talbot still there with Montoya as the backup. Klefbom, Larson, and Nurse are basically locks for their blue line. But Sekera and Russell are two guys that they could get rid of. Two guys that maybe they're looking to trade. But I don't think it's a guarantee. Sekera could be a good depth guy, so could Russell. But Russell was a type of guy that they brought in to block shots, be a little bit more defensive. But he hasn't really done a great job. I'm going to put a quick little graphic here on the screen because I know a lot of people hate comparing certain defensemen, but if we're looking at comparing somebody to another defenseman who is basically crapped on, since I can't swear here, he's basically been told that he is not a great defensive defenseman. I'm going to compare Jake Gardiner to Chris Russell right now. And there's a statistic there that has to do with shot suppression, where I believe Russell suppressing about 2 shots, and this is 5-on-5 I think it's per hour or something like that, and Jake Gardiner's up at 7. Basically, what you're looking at right now is the fact that in the same amount of ice time, or I think Russell might be getting a little bit more ice time, Jake Gardiner is absolutely slaughtering him when it comes to being a better defensive defenseman in one category, but I feel like it's an important category that you have to look at if you're looking at a defenseman. On forward, when NHL Tonight was looking at who they should keep and maybe players that are going to be in their forward group, they only had McDavid and Draisaitl, which isn't a huge surprise, but there's obviously a couple other names that should be there. You're probably going to see guys like Slepyshev, Puljujarvi, and Kajula. Those are 3 crazy names to say at once. Probably said it wrong. Slepyshev, Kajula, and Puljujarvi. I'm hoping that that's correct, but you'll see those guys slide in there as well. But everybody else to me is a question mark, and I think that's where NHL Tonight was getting to. These are guys, whether it's UFAs or players that just aren't doing it for the Oilers right now. They just need to move, and Strome is one of those guys. A name that isn't on there that probably a lot of people are surprised by is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Now, NHL Tonight said they should move him and try to get a guy like Pacioretty or Hoffman in a package including a guy like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, because you're not going to get it straight up 1-for-1. But for a Pacioretty type deal, you'd obviously want to lock him up long term. Hoffman, I believe, is already signed to a contract. If not, you'd have to lock him up long term. But it would be a little bit of a difficult trade, considering those guys would probably be upgrades over Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for sure. For sure, Hoffman, Pacioretty probably. They would look like nice moves. But if you keep Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, that isn't the end of the world either. But Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is probably your best trade asset at this point to try and make a difference with this team going into next year. You obviously don't have to rush to trade Nugent-Hopkins right now, but for the players that are available, a guy like Hoffman or Pacioretty, if you can package something together and go after him, that would make a lot of sense to me, and I think NHL Tonight is getting there as well. As much as you want to try to go after a defenseman, I'm probably going to get to that in a little bit as well. Maroon, Letestu, and Camilleri are all UFAs, so if you can move those guys, that would make a lot of sense. NHL Tonight again brought that up, that moving those guys, but I think that's just common sense. I've seen it other places. Maroon might sting a little bit for some Oilers fans, but again, if you're going to have to trade somebody who's an unrestricted free agent, he's probably going to get you the most in return. Nothing crazy, but you'll get a good return. Now, when it comes to Milan Lucic, I was a fan of the signing at first when the Oilers went out and got a guy who they wanted to have to protect Connor McDavid, a guy who wanted to play with him. It seemed like a good fit because he was a bit of a leader, a bit of a physical guy, a guy that could really get the Oilers moving towards a playoff run. But that is not working, and I am the first one to say that I was incorrect on thinking that Lucic would work. Lucic is a guy you need to eat salary on and move. And again, NHL Tonight brought this up, but it's something I've mentioned before in a video, and you've seen it all over the place probably. Lucic needs to go. You need to get rid of that contract. It's not huge, but you can get rid of it. Eat $2 or $3 million bucks. Move him on somewhere else. They mentioned Arizona. That could be a place where he could go, maybe so they could hit the cap floor. I would not think he's a good fit there as much as maybe he brings a bit of toughness and leadership. Lucic is a guy I could see going to a contender if they really want to try to do that, but his money is a lot, so you'd have to eat quite a bit. I wouldn't see him in Arizona. Let me know what you guys think about Lucic and where you could see fit, because I was honestly trying to come up with something, and I just don't know where you could put him. The Oilers might be stuck with him for a little bit. Maybe they think that he's still a part of the main plan, but I don't. If the Oilers are committed to doing something different with this team, you're obviously going to have to look ahead to the free agent class in 2018. They looked at names like Riley Nash, Michael Grabner, Josh Bailey, and John Carlson. Now, Carlson to me seems like the best fit. Bailey, if you can get him away from the Islanders, that would surprise me, but of course that'd be good. Nash and Grabner, those would be pretty good fits for the Oilers, especially slotting them into a lineup where speed and heart would be something that they really need. Grabner could work as a penalty kill type of guy, and he's not going to score a ton of goals for you. He might score 20, which would be a good fit. Maybe he scores more, I don't know. Nash and Grabner for sure would be good fits for me. Carlson, again, you'd have to pay a lot for, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But Josh Bailey, I don't know if that's going to work. If you could pry him away from the Islanders, depending on what they do or if they make the playoffs or not, that would be a great fit, of course. The NHL Tonight crew, I believe that was the crew that was working it, brought up Carlson, and this is a guy that I think any team would benefit from grabbing. But for the right price, the Edmonton Oilers would probably have to overpay to want him to come to Edmonton, because they're going to have to convince him that joining the defensive core, bringing him to be on the power play, getting him a lot of minutes will work. Letting Carlson on the power play and letting him shoot the puck as much as possible is something the Oilers really need to consider. Having a guy who can get a lot of points and help your team in the long run is something that I think a lot of teams want to go for, and Carlson is probably going to be the best defenseman available from what we're seeing out of the free agent class. And the Oilers are going to have to overpay for a guy like that, but it could be worth it, and it probably would be a good fit. And hey, maybe even before this trade deadline, they go towards the Toronto Maple Leafs, towards a guy like Josh Leivo, and say, listen, we'll give you this for him. Leivo is probably going to fetch a little bit more than Soshnikov did. Leivo, given a chance, could do something on the Edmonton Oilers, I feel like. He could score 10 to 15 goals, given the right ice time, given the right line mates. He just needs a chance, and maybe the Oilers are a good fit for Josh Leivo as well. I mean, they could always look at teams who are in cap trouble or contract trouble and be like, hey, let's try to make a smart trade here and maybe grab some pieces that they need to get rid of. Sort of like what maybe the Leafs have to do with Josh Leivo if this whole trade request thing is true. They're saying it's not, but I don't know. Maybe Leivo needs a chance to play somewhere else, and maybe he has requested that trade. They've already messed up on the Eberle trades and the Taylor Hall trades. I'm sorry, those trades did not work. So you cannot keep messing up when it comes to dealing with trades. I mean, the only other thing I can think of is a management change or a coaching change. Only time will tell, but I don't know what they're going to do when it comes to management and coaching. If it all comes down to it, maybe the Edmonton Oilers work some draft lottery magic again. Maybe they get that first overall selection, and could you imagine if they get Rasmus Dahlin? Then, and if you can find a way to get Carlson, you're looking at a really solid defensive core. Even a top pick would do okay for them, a top 5 pick, even though the Oilers keep, wasting these top picks. I believe that they could do something with it, and only time will tell if the Edmonton Oilers can turn it around next season. Everything I've mentioned here and everything the NHL Tonight crew or NHL Network crew mentioned, I think that the Edmonton Oilers could make a change and be a way better team next year. If you like this style of video, let me know. I could do this with your favorite team. I would love to just talk about any team, to be honest with you. So let me know what you guys think. Subscribe if you're new. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. I'll see you in the next video stream. Peace.